A couple of the questions I often get asked are, how many days can Lincoln County schools miss due to weather and not have to make those days up? Or another question I get asked is, do we have to make up any of the days that we miss for weather? And I'll be glad to answer those questions for you in this episode of InformLC. Hi, my name is Bill Heath. I'm the superintendent of schools here in Lincoln County, and today's topic is stockpile days and weather days. How many do we have? How do we know when to use them? I'll start out by showing you the attendance manual that we have in Lincoln County schools and in the state of Tennessee. This attendance manual is a student membership and attendance procedures manual, and it can be found at www.tn.gov and follow the links there. It's a 25-page manual that gives us the ins and outs, the rules and regulations of attendance, enrollment, membership of students, how to properly account for attendance, what our school calendars need to look like, and the parameters that we have to use when we develop those school calendars, and so forth. When you get to about page 18 of this manual, which I'm going to scroll to right now, that's when the state begins to address the use of stockpile days for dangerous and extreme conditions. Back several years ago, 15, maybe 20 years ago, Lincoln County schools decided to take advantage of a law in Tennessee that allowed the school day to be extended an extra 30 minutes a day from 6.5 hours a day as required for 180 days to what we now currently have or approximately 7 hours per day for those 180 days. That extra time accumulates to a total of 13 days that we can use for different things such as bad weather days and professional development. And you can see that here on page 18 in the manual. If there are other uses of these days that we need to possibly consider, such as illnesses, which has been an issue in Lincoln County this year with the flu back about a month or so ago, we do have to get the commissioner's approval of a waiver to use those days or these stockpile days for those occurrences, as you can see in number 4 here on this section of the manual. Any unused days that we have when the year ends, they cannot be carried over. I get asked that question about as much as anything. Hey, if we don't use them, can we carry them over to next year? Or how about this question? If we don't use our weather days during the winter, can we just take off a week or so in the spring? And the answer is no. As you can see on number 5 of this section of the manual, any unused accumulated days for excess instructional time shall not carry over to the next school year in which the time has been accumulated, and it shall not be used at the end of this current school year. So we're not allowed to do that, but there is a tremendous trade-off of having these stockpile days, and I'll go over that in a moment, and how, as a superintendent, how it helps in the decision-making process. The next section here on page 18 and partial page 19, it does tell us how at times we can use these days for professional development. And we do take advantage of that some here in Lincoln County schools. But now to go away from the state's manual and rules and regulations to how we use it here in Lincoln County. In this first paragraph here, Lincoln County Schools has established a 7-hour school day, and as a result, we earn 13 stockpile days for inclement weather, as you can see in that highlighted section right there. And in most years, that's more than enough that we need to cover all the days that we miss for weather. But in case there's a really bad weather year where there's maybe a lot of snow days, and maybe even some flooding days, if we use more than the allotted amount, we will have to make those extra days up sometime later in the school year, whether that be during spring break or later in May and adding to the end of the year, or a Saturday or something. Now, we're not to that point, and I don't know if we've ever been to that point, but if we do get over the limit, we will have to make those days up. This part here that I'm highlighting, here in Lincoln County, we actually use 2 of those 13 days for professional development. Those are included during the school year. So actually, we begin the school year knowing that we'll have 178 regular school days of 7 hours each day, and that gives us a total of 11 stockpile days within that 178 that we could use if needed for inclement weather or such things. Now, just to talk a moment about the decision-making process on bad weather days. Number one, I want you to know from a superintendent standpoint, it's not an easy call ever, because it's not a call that you want to get wrong. If we take school off and maybe the weather turned out fine, then I know there's 4,000 children whose parents had to make a decision on what to do with those children that day that were not in school. Because parents work, uh, children have to often stay with grandparents, or parents have to find daycare services, or younger kids stay with older kids. So I know that it's a burden when we do take a day off, and I realize that. So that makes it not an easy decision. On the flip side of the coin, it's not an easy decision to make, knowing that if we do not take school off and the weather turns quickly, which we know it can in these parts, that we put maybe the safety of our children and parents, anybody who's out on the roads, at risk. So because of that, we take this call very seriously, and we do, as you can see here in the highlighted section, we do consult many agencies, many resources and reference points before we make a decision. We'll contact emergency management. We'll talk to the folks at the National Weather Service, various weather websites that we use. We'll talk to the folks, Mr. Tim Gill and his staff over at the County Roads Department. And then, of course, most importantly is Mr. Keith Gill and his staff in our Lincoln County Transportation Department. They ride the roads for us quite a bit, and help us make calls, take a lot of pictures and send them in, and help us in that decision-making process. And the last thing there, as you see in the blue highlighted section, is common sense and safety has to be prevalent. So we try our best. I've been doing this job for several years. This is my 19th year, actually. And in the beginning, I always wanted to make the right call, even if I had to wait till the next morning to make that call. And what I found out is that the right call for our families is to, in all cases, make an attempt to make the call the night before, to give everyone an opportunity to find daycare services or make arrangements for their children to be somewhere else that next day if we're going to be out of school. If it looks like weather might be coming in and the night before it's just not here yet, and there's a degree of uncertainty, we might wait until the early morning hours. But our goal is, in most cases, to try to make the call the night before. And I hope you as parents understand that, and I hope you appreciate that. The last thing I have highlighted down here is just current information as of today. March the 4th, 2019, Lincoln County Schools, we have used 8 of our 11 days this year. So we do have 3 more built-in days for inclement weather or influenza or any other natural disasters that may occur. So again, I'm Bill Heath. I'm the superintendent of schools in Lincoln County. And I ask that when we have these days that you have patience with me and our staff, as again, we take this call very seriously. We want to get it right, but we want to get it right the night before. Thank you. And I look forward to seeing you out in the community, and I hope you are enjoying getting the inside information on Lincoln County Schools through our InformLC. Take care.